Hey guys, welcome back. Milan Tech Sales here, and I've got next to me Laura Tech Sales, my wife and business partner.
Hi guys.
And in this video, we're going to talk about what it's like working in a corporate job as a Muslim person, right? So I'm a Muslim man and she's a Muslim woman. We're going to talk about the challenges, the trials, and the challenges of working in an environment where you're one of the few, right? And you're trying to climb up the corporate ladder. So, where do you want to start?
So I guess I'll just give a brief background in case he doesn't know. So I qualified as a lawyer. Altogether, I was in the legal industry for 8 years. And then once I qualified, I decided that I no longer wanted to continue that because I was being overworked and underpaid. So Milan here, he helped me actually transition into a tech related role. So now I work in tech sales, I'm an SDR, and it's something that's so different to what I was doing before. And I also help Milan run our business, which is called Break Into Tech.
Which is where we help other people break into tech. So I can start, and I'll tell you my experience. So I'll go back to the beginning. So when I was an intern in 2019 at Google, I remember. So the way that the Google internship works is that they take on about 100 people. This is the one in Dublin, by the way, the headquarter in Dublin, right?
Mm-hmm.
They take on about 100 interns, and about 10 or 20 of them every year would get a full-time job after the internship. So even getting the internship was a really big win, right? And that's because it's very hard to get the internship, and it's even harder to convert it to the full-time job.
How many stages were there?
There was about a couple, 4 or 5. So not that many stages, but it was quite a lot, you could say.
Is it similar to a vacation scheme? Because you go through 4 to 5 stages and you get a vacation scheme, which is like a 1 to 2 week work experience. If you're successful,
you get a full-time job. Yeah, so this is 3 months long, so it's a little bit different,
right.
But it's similar in the sense that you can convert it to a graduate scheme. The crazy thing though was that even in this internship, they were paying people 12, 15, 20,000 euros. I remember the engineering graduates were making up to 100,000 a year. I swear to God, they were making 100,000 a year in Dublin. You can all Google this. You can go to Glassdoor and Google engineering pay and salaries at Google. Anyway, so it was a crazy time. So when I got there, I remember I was probably one of the few Muslim interns. Everyone else was like other religions and whatever. And I definitely did feel like I was the odd one out because everyone would go drinking, everyone would go to the pub, everyone would party and go to house parties and clubs. And obviously, we don't really do that, right? It's not really within our norm to go to a pub or go clubbing or go drinking.
Did you just go and sit there? Because sometimes
I did do that. Yeah, I definitely did that. But when it comes to building solid relationships with other people, if you don't drink like them, or if you don't go to the pub with them to actually actively participate in that activity, you're an outcast. You're an outcast from the get go. So what I realized was that I need to find other Muslim people, and other Afghan people that were similar to me at Google. So that's what I did. I literally went out and I don't know how I did this, but I bumped into other Afghans and other Muslims. I think I asked people who are like the Afghans here. We all became best friends. We literally all became best friends.
Was this other interns or was
No,
this people like
so a lot of these guys were full-time
Okay.
employees. I met quite a few of them, and again, we just became friends instantly because we said to each other. Well, to be fair, one of them was going out a lot and clubbing a lot and shit like that as well, which is fair, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But generally speaking, I found other Muslims, other Afghans, and we said to each other, "Oh, you don't drink, I don't drink. You know it is. Let's be friends." And that's what happened.
It's like that. It's never said, but it's like that. Like, it's telepathic thing.
Because what I realized is that all the white kids, all the European kids, all the Indian kids, all of these guys just all got together. Yeah. And there was a clear line of separation between these people. People will not admit that and be like, "Oh, it's very inclusive, there's a lot of culture, blah." And it's true, but at the end of the day, you can't force people to hang out with you. Do you know what I mean? It's people's own choice if they want to hang out with you or not.
Well, people just hang out with people that they're similar to and
Yes,
also have
exactly,
common interest in. And obviously, like, if I like to go out and I like drinking and you don't, then
we're not going to get along.
Exactly.
100%.
Just like you like football. I don't want to play football. I'd rather go for a cup of coffee.
You think about it, the best friends that you have or the people that you hang out the most with are people that you have 99% of things that are similar. Same sex, same religion, same color, same city, same socioeconomic background. So anyway, that was my experience. And then I can talk about my other job, but tell us a little bit about your experience of working in law. And you've told me a lot about this, but tell the audience, what was your experience of like working in a...
You heard me complain a lot. So, well, when I started working in a multi-service law firm, which basically means that they specialize in giving advice in lots of different areas. So they had PR, a lot of personal injury, and then they also had a business side of things, so it's corporate, etc. When I first started out, I started as a paralegal working in the PR, and they're a little bit better. They were way older than me, so I think it was just a massive culture shock just going in because I was so young.
Definitely.
I graduated in 2 years rather than 3, so I was 20. And I talked about this on one of my videos on my own YouTube channel, actually.
Oh,
I went into it in a bit more detail on how much of a culture shock it was. But when I started, so a lot of these people were older, and for some reason, drinking is not as big in older people generally. And just there were a few more. I think I remember a couple of other Muslims being there, and naturally I became like friends with them. There was a girl who sat just behind me, so that was okay because I also had a lot of young people coming in who were fresh graduates. And they did go out. We went out a few times. It was more like just for pizza or just for food. And if they went drinking after, I'd just leave and go home. So I still managed to have somewhat of a social life with these girls because I think it's just because we're all so young and we all just got along. The reason why we got along is because everybody in that office was super toxic. So we had that in common and we'd all just have a little bit of a moan and then we'd just be silly together. When I got into corporate though, I moved into the banking team and I was paralegal. I was the only little brown person in the whole of that office. I was the only one. There were no other Muslims there. And the team that I worked in was just men, to be honest. And it was just like, I hated it. There was one person who was really senior in my team. He was so nice. He was the nicest person ever. So he made me feel quite comfortable. And he was also gay. So I think I noticed that
minorities get along.
Yeah, minorities actually get along. Not that anybody ever discriminates or anything, because I think that's more celebrated in this country.
Definitely. If you're gay or transsexual or an animal, you're definitely a lot more respected than if you're a very religious person. So
Also
even if you're
super nice as well. That's something.
So one thing I'll realize, and I'll say this right, is if you're an animal, or if you're a transgender, or if you're a gay guy, you're a lot more respected and liked compared to if you're a really religious Muslim person, or a really religious Christian person, or a really religious Jewish person. Because what society doesn't like is extremely religious people, right? For whatever reason, right? But they do like gays, animals, dogs, cats, transgenders, a lot more than people that are religious. Let's be real about that.
So it was a difficult experience actually, and I really the reason why it was difficult is because I was applying for something called a training contract. You can compare it to a graduate scheme for those people who don't know what it is. It lasts for a period of 2 years. Every 6 months you move departments, and at the end of the 2 years you choose which department you want to qualify in, and then you are a solicitor in that department. So they're very competitive. Like they're super competitive. And there's so many stages that are involved. So you have an application form, then you have a video interview, then you have an assessment centre. Within the assessment centre, it lasts a full day. You already know this. I'm just explaining it to people who might not be aware of it. You have a written exercise and instruction taken exercise, an interview, and also a group exercise. So it's a full day thing. And then after that, you have another interview. Two interviews. The assessment centre, so I was applying, let me fast forward. And I got rejected for about 3 years in a row, internally, by the way. And them assessment centres were always in Ramadan. And it was just so hard. I remember once going all the way to London, I don't know if I fasted that day because I think you're exempt from fasting when you're travelling. But the night before I had fasted, I couldn't sleep the whole night because you also still pray, right? You have loads of prayers to do, etc. It was just so hard. And I guess it's not the company's job to change the date because that's how it's a yearly recruitment process. That makes sense. But it's just hard going into that, not being able to drink or eat and just being like a zombie essentially. That's something that I found really difficult. I don't know if that, like, I guess it must have affected me in some ways, but it wasn't really ultimately the reasons why I was being rejected. Those
Yeah.
were some other reasons, which was quite in another video.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that's what I found quite difficult. And then I'll let you speak, and then I can talk about my
Yeah.
excuses again after.
No, I think that's totally fair. The other thing I was gonna say is, so I've worked in tech for the last 5 years, right? And I worked at Google, Stability AI, which is one of the biggest AI companies in the world. And what I real the most this is what I would tell my kids or my best friend who's going to work in a tech company or in a corporate job or a high paying corporate job. The biggest lesson is don't be real, as fake as you possibly can be. Come across as super nice, come across as super likable, as that guy that's always doing this. Be the gay guy, literally be the gay guy. Because if you're not the gay guy and you're that super aggressive, outgoing, loud, go-getter, impressive, clever, sharp, you're done. You're literally, your throat is cut, you're screwed over. I'll give you an example. One of my buddies, this is not even anything to do with a corporate job, but it's still related to tech. My buddy, my best friend, raised $2-3 million for his business, right? You know him. And he got screwed over by his two co-founders because they basically snitched on him, lied about him, stole his business, stole his money, and ruined his life, right? Because he was too good. He was too much of a threat to them.
You know,
right?
that's 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
It's one of the laws of power.
By Robert Greene. Yeah,
Yeah,
48 laws. Yeah, never outshine your master. And your master in a corporate job is obviously your boss and the brand name that you work for. So, for example, if you work at Google or Apple or Amazon or any of these big tech company trolls, they're all evil anyway because they just make money and they don't care about anyone else. But what you got to realize is that they pretend to be culture and they care about everything. They don't give a shit. So if you're Muslim or you're hardcore Christian or whatever, or you're anything different, make sure you never put that opinion across because they will tell you that you should, but you'll get fired on the day instantly. So, what's been your experience on a situation like that?
For sure, I think that's so true about corporations like caring, because I remember, I know this is super political, but when the whole Palestine thing was going on, it was like heartbreaking, and they sent an email around saying, I think this was about a year ago. It must have been a year ago, because they basically sent an email around and it was so tone deaf. It was like, oh, if anybody needs any support, if anyone's got any family, like you can speak to us. And then fast forward like a couple of days later, they basically sent an email around, which was, in other words, saying, don't post your opinion. Otherwise, it will affect your job. It was basically saying, like, we want to remain like, no, if you post on LinkedIn or whatever. And I remember there's another woman, a Muslim woman, who'd joined at this point. Because I worked at this company for like years. So she literally walked up to me and up to my desk, and she like tears in her eyes. And she's like, have you just seen that email? I was like, yeah. And she's like, I'm so angry. I didn't know what to do. I just left my desk thinking. She was an employment lawyer, so she already knows all the rights. She could not believe that this is what they're saying. So it's crazy. Like said, they're just monsters, and they just care about, they don't care about anything. And they basically like share that. Of course,
yeah. Well, what I also the learning lesson for me in that case is that you need as a Muslim person, right? You need to gain as much power as possible. Power is money. Power is fame. Power is control. So you need to gain a lot of power. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. The co-founder of Muzmatch, which is a dating app like for Muslims, right? The guy's raised like of millions. It's valued at hundreds of millions, right? Because Muslims all over the world own like the app. Anyway, when the Israel and Palestine thing was happening, he was posting screenshots of investors, Jewish troll investors, emailing him saying, hey, we want to give you $10 million for your business. Would you accept it, please? And then this creator of this Muzmatch guy, he would go and Google this corporation, find out if they had any connections with Israel, like funding IDF and shit like that. And he would email them saying, hey, thank you, but I can't work with you because you support a criminal organization that kills lots of people. And he'd post about it on LinkedIn. But for him, because he's got so much power and influence, there's no social repercussions to him. No one can fire him from his own company. Do you know what I mean? He's got all the power, all the influence, all the money, all the control. So what I'm learning especially as that support, right? But if you're a loser and you're a low-level employee at a shitty random company and you're making 20K a year, you deserve to be at the bottom. You deserve to not have your opinions come out because you're a loser anyway. So really, you need to rise up in life, right? Become a high-end, whatever it is, corporate lawyer, tech guy, whatever you need to do in your life, whatever is within your reach, you need to get to the top of that field so you can push your people up, so you can actually talk about your opinions. Because let's say in 2 years' time we make the break into tech coaching business into a 7-8 figure business, then we could say whatever the fuck we want to say.
Yeah.
Right? We could say whatever the hell we want to say. We can actually help people, but also we can actually be our real selves. Because guess what? We won't have a faceless corporation telling us to get out.
Yeah.
Because we would have a lot of control.
Yeah.
That's the main lesson for me anyway.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I can agree with you. I think you've always said to me as well, like, when I remember telling you these things, like, oh, this is what this company said.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, this is why you need to have your own thing.
Yeah.
So nobody can tell you, like, what to have. You don't have to sit next to somebody whose morals don't align with
yours. Yeah, 100.
Because I remember telling you a different story, and you were like, yes, like, you do anything.
Yeah.
You have to just sit there and listen to people's bullshit. Really.
Yeah. The only thing I would say though is that tech is a lot more nice. The people in tech are a lot nicer, right? So let's not get it twisted. Most people at Google are super nice.
Yeah.
Either because a lot of them were Irish, because it's in Ireland, and Irish people are super nice.
Yeah, they are.
A lot of people in general in tech companies are super nice. Like at my most recent job at Stability, the manager was super nice. He would never say anything bad, right? Like if you were late, if you did something dumb, he would never really. He would obviously try and fix the situation, but he would never like call you out in public and make you look like a troll. Whereas I feel like other industries, like corporate industries, like traditional ones, like investment banking or commercial law or other jobs that people do, it's a lot more traditional. It's a lot more toxic.
I think it's because, like, it's a elitist kind
Yeah.
of, it was just middle class
Rich people,
white
yeah.
men who
Yeah.
dominated the
Yeah.
like field. Now, like, people
Yeah.
coming through who are like minorities and who are like first university
Yeah.
students, maybe even immigrants as well who are now working there. So
Yeah.
it's shifting slightly. But I think that's why they're just so 25 and it's a very like traditional. You do get like people who are way older who just like expect to be in the office. Even like when the COVID thing happened, they expected you to be in the office from 9 till 5.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, in my day, I wasn't allowed to leave until my manager left. And it's like, well, it's not the 1960s anymore. It's 2025.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's
Awesome.
something that is quite right.
Awesome. Well, I think we talked for quite a bit about this. If you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about what we do, there's a link in the description of this video. You can book a free call. We will tell you a little bit more about how you can land a tech sales job as well. We specialize in helping people land tech sales jobs. We've already helped over 100 people do the same thing. And subscribe if you want to learn a little bit more about what it's like to run a business, work full time as a Muslim couple in their 20s remotely.
And let us know if there's any other topics
Yeah.
for us to talk about, because we're thinking of starting a series where we just have a little chat together and just have a little rant, really. And then follow us on TikTok if you want tips. Yeah, all links are in the description of this video. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Take care. We need to break our fast.